Hey, ladies, gentlemen, and transgenders. Welcome to episode 15 of the Slothcast, a Heroes of the Storm podcast for those of us that would like to be better at the game. I am your friendly neighborhood Latino Narsha, and just this week, I learned that the people of Dubai don't watch the Flintstones, but the people in Abu Dhabi do. This week, we are bringing you more... Sorry, I really like that. This week, we are bringing you more of the knowledge you didn't know you needed to help you up that win rate. But I can't do that alone. Oh, no. With me this week, I have one of our biggest fan favorites, hailing from Sweden. He does not let the fact Sweden is one of Scandinavia's little brothers affect him, as he over multiple seasons have proved himself at Master and Grandmaster levels, and we are happy to have you back on the show, Galne Gunnar.
Thank you, Narsha.
Good to have you back. Now, before I just ask you how you're doing these days, you have been a very active streamer lately, haven't you?
Indeed, so didn't have much streams going on this week, so I've been streaming 4 days in a row, which is a lot compared to what I did before. It was like one stream a month, maybe.
Yeah, but hopefully this is a new standard, and we can see the Galne stream more often.
Hopefully.
It's something to check out, and I'm sure we'll mention it later in the show, but great that you can take a break from the stream to join us at the Slothcast this week. Next up is another old friend of the show and a friendly face for all you long-term followers of the Slothcast. This young man from the Netherlands are always around for some healthy heroes discussion, which most people enjoy, until he manages to tilt you somehow. Welcome back to the Dutch Dreamer, Hilda!
Thank you. I don't try to tilt people, it just happens.
Yeah,
Can't help it.
I'm not sure that makes it better, though.
I don't know either.
So, what you been up to since you last were on the show?
No, not much. Just been vacation, doing nothing, playing video games. Trying to get better at the video game. Not working that well.
Seems like a good time, though, just playing the video game.
Yeah, that's the best thing to do when you don't have anything else to do, so...
What I wouldn't give to be a teenager again.
I'm 20, shut up.
Sure. Yeah.
God damn it.
Now, for this week's special guest, I first of all have some good advice for those of you that want to call someone out on rank. If you are in an argument with this guest, you probably shouldn't, which is something a random player in the lounge learned, as he said, "I've climbed and I still am. I'm willing to bet you've never had the rank I got in earlier seasons on my other account," where our guest today answered, "Well, I was Grandmaster every season, with peaks number 9, season 3, season 4, number 11, and this season, number 1. Which are very respectable ranks. So, welcome to the show, Rozmex.
Thanks a lot. It's nice to be here.
It's very nice to have you here too. Now, just tell us a bit about your Heroes of the Storm life these days.
My Heroes of the Storm life is like playing Hero League now, trying to get the team for Open Division, and playing with launch people in Hero League, sniping them, and Team League. So,
yeah, I've heard the Hero League sniping sessions have been pretty popular lately.
Yeah, we do it like this week a lot, so it's fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. You mentioned that you were looking for an Open Division team. How has that gone so far? Like, you have participated in some of the earlier weeks.
Yeah, I was participating with my old team. So we won Heroes Launch, but we disbanded a few weeks ago. And last week I had a team that we formed up week before Cup, and we made like 4 scrims. But on the tourney we ended up in second round against Bushido Esports. It was close, but still we did disband after it. So I'm looking for another team.
So how was it playing against Bushido Esports and some of the legends they have on the team?
It was challenging, but I don't think it wasn't unwinnable. if I was like better luck, we could do one game, I think. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, better luck next time. I'm sure things will work out, as being GM number 1 doesn't come easy that either.
Thanks.
Now, we have another exciting episode for all of you today, where we'll go deep into not only the newest hero to enter the Nexus, but the bakery of Team Dignitas recently posted a text with some opinions that we want to follow up on. And of course, there'll be a big special also this episode, where we go in depth on map strategy for Battlefield of Eternity. But before we teach you what you need to know to win more games on BOE, we're taking it back to a hero we will talk about for the 3rd or 4th time in a row, the newest hero in the Nexus, Garrosh. Now, earlier we talked about Garrosh's role in a comp, how to draft him and such, but today we'll go a bit deeper on how to carry with him, as we'll talk talents and builds. And yeah, I'm just going to give it over to the experts here. Let's start at level 1. He has 3 talents to choose from, and what are our options there?
For the options on level 1 on Garrosh, you have Warbreaker, which is a quest talent for your Q. If you hit your Q, you gain additional damage over 3 seconds, and if you hit 15 heroes, you get cooldown reduction. And the other talent is Unrivaled Strength, which increases the range of your E and the damage by 100%. And the last one is Body Check, which is an activatable, which damages and slows the enemy. And the more armor you have, the more damage and slow it gives, I believe. And what I usually go for is Unrivaled Strength. I think it's the best talent on this tier, but every talent on this tier is viable, I think.
I personally prefer Warbreaker. I think it's Garrosh's strength lies in that he can really throw people around. And with, I mean, we are not there yet, but level 1 does combo very, very nicely with a level 16 talent that we'll get to later. So you can do that even more and even more consistently if you can land your Qs. So it's a pretty good talent as well. Yeah.
It would be perfect now if Rozmex said that his favorite talent is Body Check, so we just get 1 on each.
I didn't play Garrosh yet, but I think Body Check is like a very good talent, but I think most of the people think it's a trap. I think like having a 50 activable is a huge advantage, and I think we are going to see it in pro play.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I think it's what Galna said there. All of these talents are viable. Unrivaled Strength, the Galna's favorite, where you can throw people just longer and increase the damage. But I guess the damage part isn't exactly what you're after here, but more the range of how far you can throw people. But of course, Warbreaker too. It does have nice synergy with later talents. But then again, Body Check. Yeah, I can understand it's kind of a trap talent. Does anyone know how long the cooldown on Body Check is?
I believe it's 30 seconds or 45 seconds. I'm not entirely sure. I
haven't used it much, so I don't remember exactly what cooldown is.
Yeah, it just doesn't say here. Yeah, it just doesn't say in the talent calculator. So we're just curious. Yeah, I'm also like a Warbreaker. The Q, when you pull people in, you do have to hit people like on the perfect line on the end of the cone to be able to actually pull someone in. And I don't know, Galna, Rozmex, you played Hero League the last week on really high level. How often do people hit their Qs, like, and being able to pull you in?
Usually, 1 sec. Rozmex can go first.
I mean, a lot of people in Hero League doesn't have a good positioning, so Garrosh throws them a lot. But I think he's like, I don't know. He can throw you like from everywhere, and it's very strong.
Yeah, like personally, I feel like it's decently easy to dodge as long as you are able to focus on it. The problem is that the more chaos, the more things that happen at the same time, suddenly you just try to move away, and then it can be hard to dodge. It's kind of counterintuitive to stop to make sure that you're inside of the range too, like closer to him. So, and then you're getting thrown around. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's mostly a good ability that you can synergize with other CC, because you usually don't want the Garrosh as solo tank. If your teammates or an Uberak or someone, if he CCs someone, then you can basically get a free Q off every time. So it's very nice if you can follow it. If you have other like stuns or roots on your team, so you can just get easy Qs off constantly, or you can just walk up to them and eat them away from where they are. So it all depends on basically. I think on level 1's personal preference, mostly. Because of that, because all the talents are good, as said before. It's just what you think is what you want to build into later on. If you want to build into more E talents, it's obviously better to go for the E talents on level 1 as well. If you want to build into more Q talents, it's better to go for the Q talent on level 1, etc., etc.
Keep going. At level 4, we got 3 more talents. We got In for the Kill, which increases bloodthirst damage. It's the W.
Yes.
Yeah, W, he's self-sustain. Or Thirst for Battle, where basic attacks against heroes reduces the cooldown of said bloodthirst. Or Indomitable, which is another activatable talent where you could become unstoppable for 1.5 seconds. Any favorites here?
I usually go Indomitable, but if they don't really have much CC, I usually go In for the Kill. And if you're going to play Infernal Shrines, which is not in the map pool, so I haven't tested it yet, In for the Kill looks really good on the shrines.
Yeah, because when you kill someone with the W, it just resets the cooldown and everything, and you get the full value once again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a Carrigan Q build scenario on Infernal Shrines. That's the deal. Yeah.
It does work like that very nicely for Infernal Shrines. I've seen it once, and it pretty much carried the shrine fight. It was pretty good. I also prefer Indomitable. I think most of the time there's enough CC that you kind of want to be able to stop it from hitting you, because Garrosh is a bit squishy at times. He can be a bit low on health. Some feel a bit low on health. So being able to actually unroot yourself and is very nice, and it's a very good ability. Unstoppable is a very, very, very powerful ability.
Yeah, I was about to ask Rozmex, can you say no to a self cleanse?
I really like the Battle Momentum talent for the W, because you can spam it when you have no targets to reset. If you had the Infernal Kill, you wouldn't have the W that often. So I feel like the first for battle is really good talent, but I didn't see that in the Hero League.
Oh no, okay. So what you see in the Hero League is the self cleanse or?
Self cleanse or the Infernal Kill.
Yeah. So what interesting that strikes me that already after going through level 1 and level 4 talents that we have one favorite for each member of the Slothcast today on both tiers. I also like the self cleanse. It's a self cleanse on level 4. It's just really powerful, almost too good to not take. But of course, if the enemy doesn't have as much CC, it's kind of counterproductive. So In for the Kill or Thirst for Battle seems like good options. But moving on to level 7, here we have 4 talents to choose from. With another Q talent. Is this your favorite, Hida? Intimidation?
No. There's only one talent on level 7, and that's Into the Fray.
I mean,
why would you go for anything else? You can. It's and not even for before you go and it's a good meme talent. You can throw your allies into enemy space and stuff like that, which is funny in quick match and in unranked when it doesn't matter. But it's actually a very powerful tool to, in my opinion at least, to protect your teammates if there's an engage. If you see an Uberak burrow charging you can just throw an ally that's close to you away so he doesn't get stunned, and he actually has the ability to get out of the fight, repositioning himself, so he can get in a better position to start dealing damage or something.
I think Interface is for sure the best talent, but I think Brute Force, when you have body check, is pretty good too. Especially when they have lots of sustain heroes. Like say, for example, they run double support and the Stitches and maybe Malfail, but you shouldn't pick Garrosh versus Malfail anyway. But let's say that he's in the enemy team. I think brute force could be a good option if you have body check level 1, but I still think interface is just the best talent on level 7.
Did you say into the face or into the fray?
Into the fray.
Okay, it could be into the face. You never know. It's almost too exciting of a talent to pass up on. It kind of is. It would give him his third active potentially at level 7.
Piano, Garrosh, best build.
Yeah, I've seen a video about it. It's pretty fun.
I think the best thing on the Into the Fray is that your allies are cleansed, so you give them armor and cleanse on the same time. So there's like Rhaegar with Ather in one, so you give 25 armor and cleanse at once, and you throw them. So that's the best thing on Into the Fray, I think.
And it gives wave clear. You can throw them into enemies as well to deal damage.
Yeah, I guess that part also helps. We also got brute force. Enemies hit by body check receive 50% reduced healing, but then you have to take body check. What about oppressor? The basic attacks against heroes reduces the target's spell power by 40% for 2.5 seconds. That does sound good on paper.
I think this is a very weak talent. Mostly because Garrosh is not a very mobile hero. And having him, like, he needs to get towards like a hero like a Li Ming, because in current meta you're not going to see much Kel'Thas or Jaina, or heroes like that. So he needs to get close to Li Ming, which in and of itself is already going to be very hard. And trying to keep auto-attacking her without her blinking away and just walking away from you, it's too hard to get good value from to justify it over the other talents in this tier.
The problem with this talent is you need to go melee to hit it, but you just gonna get kited then. And if you hit a Q on the mage, they're dead anyway because you just toss them into your team. So why pick this talent then? It's pretty useless.
Yeah.
I think you wanna pick it like against Dehaka or Maltael to lower the healing, but I think you don't even want it then because you can get into the fray.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems at least we finally we can agree on something, that Into the Fray is the talent to take at level 7. Just really quick, have you seen any interesting combos with it just yet? I think we'll all have heard about throwing exploding Diva Mecha and stuff like that.
That was good. That's a good combo.
I had a play on my stream where I played with Garrosh. I tossed him out because he tried to save the Haka who died, and then tossed him out, and he survived with like 200 or 300 HP, and then Graymin tried to kill him, but then Arnasibu put down a zombie wall, and I tossed him into the zombie wall, and then he died.
Oh no. Yeah, okay. I just need to find a Garrosh main that can throw people into my zombie walls. That seems like a good deal. Okay, moving on to the first really exciting talent here. It's level 10, and we'll talk about heroics. Warlord Challenge is the one option where you silence nearby heroes and force them to attack Garrosh for 1.5 seconds. This is a taunt, like Varian has. Only it's in an AoE and on a longer cooldown. Or you can pick Decimate, where he swings his axe around in a circle and does damage to everyone that he hits, and slow them for 30% for 1.5 seconds. So, what's the go-to talent here?
I usually pick Taunt on this talent, but I think both ultis are pretty viable. But I think just AoE Taunt is stupid, to be honest.
Yeah. It's a really, really good talent, I think. Just the fact, even if you hit just one hero with it and you get a kill off that, it's still worth it. Because most of the time you will use one, like your ultimate just to get one kill. And if you can get that kill off, it's just already worth it. If you can get two, it's just pays for itself even more. And I think Decimate is a bit of a trap talent in the sense that you can go in and you can get guided little bit less if you manage to get it off a few times, but I think it's a little bit weak for what it's supposed to do. I don't think the damage is really that high, And the fact that Garrosh in itself feels a bit mana hungry sometimes, Decimate is not going to help with that because you want to be spamming that ability.
Rozmex, you have any favorites?
I like really Decimate really more because it's 8 seconds cooldown, 3 charges, and you even reduce the cooldown when you hit the heroes. So it's like basic ability on ultimate choice. And I don't like the taunt because it's heavy and you have to like get to them. But in some situations it can work, I think. I mean, if you get the Qs on someone, toss them and then taunt, he can get cleansed, and you have like cleanse stated for this combo. So I don't like more Decimate. But against no cleanse support, I will take taunt.
Take taunt, yeah. Yeah.
What I usually do when I pick taunt though is when I hook someone in, I usually go to the other front line and taunt them instead, so they can't help him. But that's just what I do.
Yeah, you pull someone in, you throw them away into your own team, and then you peel away so you can stop them from trying to counter engage to save the target.
Yeah, that is 1.5 second of taunt where they can't help the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Personally, as a Lunara player, I like when the Garrosh takes Decimate because it's just more slow that I can utilize with my level 13 talents. And
if you have a Lunara, for sure, I would have picked Decimate here.
Yeah, there's more slows all around for extra Lunara damage after level 13. Speaking of level 13, Garrosh has 1-2 with 3 talents. We got more Q, we got more W, and we got another activatable talents. What do you say here, Galna?
I like 95% of the case pick double up. I think this talent is stupidly broken. When you have like a little bit under half HP, you can get hardened shield on level 13. It's like stupid, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I like going for defensive measures. I like it because the shield's pretty nice. And hopefully by the time you hit level 13, and you went for Warbreaker on level 1, you've done the quest by then, so you can get like a reset on the shield every few seconds. But yeah, double up's just way too fucking powerful to pass up. It's such a good talent.
The only way I don't pick this talent is because I have a Uther healer, for example, who gives me armor anyway. Then this talent is not that great. But if I have another healer than Uther, I would pick this talent in all cases, I think.
Every day of the week, yeah. Rozmex?
I think the blob is most of the time the option to go, but I like Blood Grace if you take the first word for battle and level 4, so you can get a lot of healing of percentage of HP, and I think it's good against Maltile or Typhus, but the blob is really strong.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess you would take defensive measures, the talent which gives you the shield, which Hidde mentioned, if you go the full Q build. Like as Hidde mentioned, if you are able to stack the quest and then have Q on such a short cooldown, you will have a shield a lot of the time. But yeah, double up, which gives you, which increases the armor bonus that you get for 3 seconds. It's an activatable with 40 seconds cooldown. It's a lot of armor. So yeah. But level 16, 3 new talents with 2 talents around the Q ability and Earth Shaker, where Wrecking Ball, where you throw someone. It stuns enemies near the impact area for 0.75 seconds. Is this the one to go to here?
If you go the
E-build?
level 1 E-build, I think this is a good talent. I think Mortal Combo is pretty okay as well. If you go the Q build, I don't think Rough Landing is good at all, because if you hit your Q, you're gonna toss them anyway, so they're probably pretty much dead then. So I don't think the slow is gonna be good.
Yeah, and because of what you just said, like when you pull people in, you're going to toss them away. That's why I don't like Earthshaker. You're usually not throwing enemies back towards their team. You're usually throwing them into your team. so they
Yeah,
can get killed.
true.
Which is why I don't like Earthshaker that much. You're basically picking a talent that you're not going to utilize unless you're in a very specific situation where you like you can use it technically to try and like interrupt a mosh pit or something by throwing an ally into it on the ETC to try and stop it, something like that. But I think it's like only good in way to specific situations to be a very good talent, and just reducing the cooldown of your E. Even if you don't go for Warbreaker on level 1, the fact that you can always use Q and E after each other because of it is just really strong, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I guess that's what you want to do. You want to grab someone in with the Q and then throw him around with the E. And yeah, the cooldown is reduced by 10 seconds, which is a lot. The cooldown on throwing someone.
Yeah, it goes down from 16 down to 6 then, and the cooldown on your Q without the cooldown reduction on level 1, if you don't go for that, is 8. So you will always have Wrecking Ball back up by the time you have Ground Breaker ready, so you can basically always throw someone back into your team if you land a Q. And then an E right after.
I think Mortal Combo is mostly to stained fights, to long fights where you wanna pull it out more times. But if you want like hard engage, you can get Earthshaker and like throw something into enemy teams, stun them, and then get Q on them. So you pull them too, and if you have taunt, you can even taunt them at you. So you get like hard engage from Garrosh. I saw it like in Hero League. I saw it from player GrandMaster. He drove minion onto enemy, then pulled 2 heroes to us and taunted them, and we got 2 easy kills.
Ah. Yeah, I guess that's a combo that could work pretty well. I'm guessing Earthshaker, it doesn't work with Into the Fray.
No,
I
it
don't
doesn't.
think so.
Oh, so you can't throw Arthas into their enemy team and stun them?
You can't.
Oh. That's unfortunate, but it would probably be a bit too good. Now, for level 20, we have the regular upgrades to the ultimate. We have an upgrade to throwing someone around, of course, and another upgrade to body check. So, what's the most interesting talent here?
I think just the alt upgrades are the best. Like if you go taunt, you go to taunt upgrade. If you go decimate, you go to decimate upgrade. I haven't tested out body check that much, so I don't know if the level 20 is good or not.
I think it can be good if you go for body check and brute force. If you go that way, then getting that extra charge to be able to stop healing on 2 targets, if possible, it seems pretty strong. And that the cooldown reduces, like the cooldown reduction that you gain from it if you have more than 25 armor, seems also pretty good, because it's just like cooldown reduction in and of itself on an ability that I think I found was a 20-second cooldown. Just makes you able to just control healing so much more effective. It seems pretty good, though. I do agree with Galna that the ult upgrades are the better options. Although I do think Death Wish may not always be the perfect idea.
Yeah, Death Wish, the upgrade to the taunt, where the taunt just lasts for a half a second longer, and if enemy hero is killed while affected by the taunt, its cooldown is reduced by 45 seconds. But I guess the stars kind of have to align for that to happen.
It usually doesn't happen, but you pick it more for the duration increase, because tossing 2 people doesn't really help you that much, I think. So why not pick it anyway?
Yeah, which is another level 20 option. Titanic Might, Wrecking Ball now throws the 2 closest enemies. And I'm also having, like, I would love for all the E talents to be super good, because his E ability throwing people around is really funny. But yeah, I'm not sure if I see the huge need for throwing 2 people. It kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
almost.
Instead of isolating someone, you're giving them an ally with them, which gives them an opportunity to maybe save themselves. Or like if you're throwing a mage and the tank can just try to peel for the mage who's in there as well, and he can potentially get away. That's not something that you want to have happen. You're basically, if you pick it, sometimes it can basically fuck up your own combos, which is not what you want to do. You just want to isolate one person and kill them off, and then win the fight from there, and not 2 people and potentially fuck that over.
What about you, Rozmex? Would you pick Titanic Might to be able to, I don't know, throw to the enemy's double tank away over a wall or something? And
No, I will take ult upgrades because they are too good, I think. Like the decimate upgrade is less damage for enemies for 3 seconds if you hit them. That's really nice, and more duration, and even can be cooldown reset on taunt. That's nice as well.
Well, that kind of seems good. We have gone through his whole talent tree now. We are like, what strikes me is there's a lot of talents that can be used, as we disagreed on some, and everyone has their favorites. Of course, there are some that shouldn't be taken, and on level 7 you have to take into the fray. But apart from that, it's pretty much open to everyone. We will probably post in the YouTube description the builds that we tend to use, and you can take some. You can take some inspiration from that if you want to, but that is most likely the last time for a little while where we talk about Garrosh, I promise. Hopefully, the listeners have all they need to dominate the battlefield with the former war chief of the Horde, but now we are moving into dominating a short break. And when we're back, we'll talk another Warcraft hero, the much discussed Guardian, Medivh. See you in a little bit. Welcome back, and sorry we had to be apart for such a long time, but we're finally back together, just you and me. And a bunch of other listeners, plus the 3 nerds joining me today, Galne Gunnar, Hidde, and top GrandMaster EU player Rozmex. Before the break, we talked about Garrosh and how to play him, but just this week, friend of the Heroes Lounge, James Baker from Team Dignitas, posted a text with his thoughts on Medivh and how he should be reworked. We here at the Slothcast obviously found that interesting, and going to you, Rozmex, first. What are your thoughts around Medivh?
I think he's one of the best heroes for competitive and high-level hero league where people can use portals a lot and be aggressive when they know that Medivh is gonna save them. And I think it's like a huge skill cap hero, but I think he's too powerful for competitive.
Galne, what are your position on Medivh?
I agree with Rozmex a lot. I think in the hands of a good player, Medivh is stupidly strong at the moment, I think. But in Hero League, he usually doesn't do well because people don't really know how to play with him or play the hero correctly. Like, usually people don't click portals, or they overextend when Medivh isn't there and then ask you, where was my shield?
but in a coordinated environment, Medivh is really, really strong.
Definitely.
Hidde, is he too strong?
I do agree with that. I think Medivh right now is too strong in just... if you take a look at, I think the best example that we have is Team Experts, ADRD's Medivh. In my opinion, ADRD's Medivh single-handedly carried them to HGC. With how they managed to get their way in there. Medivh just won them so many games. And just the fact that he can deny kill comps just because he has one ability to just deny everything that your opponent has. If you want to go for a full stun kill comp with Tranda, Muradin, something like that, just W and a portal and he's out and he's fine. Yeah. It's too much.
And we're touching upon some of the things that Bakery is also mentioning, and I'm just going to read through some of the parts quick. So he says, the main thing I think you would need to target is W, the shield. I want to move a ton of its power away from the protected and instead into a damage ability that would only be effective in close proximity to the enemy team. Taking inspiration from his level 7 talent, Arcane Explosion, I would rework his W so that the ability would erupt at the end of the protected and reflect a portion of the damage done in a large AoE. I think this would be a good way to heavily incentivize aggressive W usage and weaken the W and portal to get them out, reset fight playstyle that he despises. It's kind of the same thing that Galna mentioned. What are your thoughts on Bakery's opinions here?
I think they're pretty good. Like if you put the shield on like that, you're protected for 0.5 seconds, and then this range, it could be a pretty good change because now the shield is 1.5, and that's way too long, I think.
Yeah.
Rozmex, would this be a good change, you think?
I think so, but I would like to see change it into like a shield so that you place on some place between you and enemy, and it will block damage from like auto attacks and stuff. It was like in the spotlight of Medivh, there was a shield that he placed in front of the heroes, and nothing came through. So I would like to see that instead of a single target shield.
Kind of like Reinhardt in Overwatch, you mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of like that. Or
Yeah,
yes, you have flown League of Legends.
I'd like something like that as well. I was thinking like something a little bit different. Like give them, still keep the protected thing, but make it like as if there's like an X amount of damage dealt into the protected, it breaks. So you can actually try to counter it somewhat. So if you do like give it like, I don't know, like 500 damage shield kind of ish, like for protected. But if you deal like over 500 damage in one go, like the shield itself doesn't, like it still absorbs all of the extra damage over the 500, but afterwards it breaks. So you can start dealing more damage into it afterwards. So you can, like it says the same duration, but if you break it in 0.5 seconds, then just lose that other second, like something like that. That would be more interesting, I think.
Yeah, a shield like Brown from League of Legends would be interesting, but I'm guessing they're saving that for when they're bringing Reinhardt to the Nexus,
Yeah,
which
probably
will probably happen sooner or later. So that's his W. He also talks about the portals a bit, and he says, "I would also love to add the ability to body block a portal. I think this would be a great way to stop both people dancing back and forth and the hardcore disengaging that causes him to be so frustrating, and it would do it in a way that really promotes high-level play. If that's too clunky, then I think that something needs to be done to make running away less attractive. Maybe the entering the portal animation needs to elongated for damage taking, or entering from one side is instant, but the other side requires a lengthy channel." So what it's actually saying in here is it should be harder to use the portals defensively.
Yeah, I think it's way too easy to use the portals now. Like there's such a huge hitbox for you to use them. I think the body blocking sounds really, really good, but it could be clunky to implement it.
Yeah.
I also read on Reddit, like I had a guy on Reddit who made a really good suggestion that you can like kill the portals like Cocoon. I think that's a really okay change.
Yeah, just break the portal. I think something else, if you're going to change the portal, that definitely needs changing is the level 13 talent. I think it's called Quickening, where you basically, if you pick the portal duration on level 1 and you pick Quickening on level 13, you basically have 100% uptime on portals, which is stupid in my opinion, and that should not be a thing. I think that's one of the things that really needs to be either changed or removed. And even if they're not going to change the portals, I think that talent and the duration definitely need looking at, because they're the only two talents that you pick on level 1 and 13. The other ones are just not viable compared to them.
Yeah, I guess so. It always surprises me how short cooldowns Medivh actually have. The 5 seconds of Force of Will and the reduced cooldown he can get from the portal talents too. Rozmex, do you think this would be a fine change for Medivh to fix his problems, or do you have something else in mind?
Yeah, I think the cooldown is the problem on the portals mainly, and the duration will need a change, I think.
Yeah, because I really understand where Baker is coming from here. Like it is really terrible to play against someone that can just at any time negate all the damage and just remove his team from the fight and kind of reset it all. It's definitely frustrating, and this could probably help. The last thing he says in his text is about the W again. Thinking about balancing his new W, I think the ideal calculation would be 100% damage taken divided by the number of heroes that damage the hero during the shield. That might be a clunky solution, but I think it really nails the design I want. What exactly does that mean?
That means that if the enemy team is just like focus the target and throw everything on the target with the shield, it will erupt with a huge amount of damage. Like every damage they made will be divided by 5, and that will most likely kill them, I think. So.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just directly tied up to how W should splash damage, AOE damage after the shield is done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it could be interesting, just using him more offensively in a way and making it harder to use, especially Portal defensively. And I remember when Medivh came out, all everyone was talking about is how you can just make huge Portal plays, bringing whoever you want straight into their backline, like suddenly. But what people actually use it for is mostly just to get away, it seems to me.
Yeah, I mean, like if you go like in pro play more so, those backline diving things that happen a little bit more often because of course, the synergy between you and your teammates is a lot higher than in your average Hero League game. So you can give the call for, okay, now we're going into their backline. Here's a portal. Let's go. Like send artists in there and send a few people after that or something like that. Try and disrupt backlines. But like I think just the main thing that is the problem with Medivh and his abilities is that it's really, really hard to draft around it. And that's why they need changing mostly, because there's no real hard counter to portal usage. I mean, you can push people away, you can stun them, you can root on them, but the portal stays for much longer than the stun will last, or then the root will stay on the ground from Malfurion, for example. You will just always be able to keep using the portal even though you try to counter it in some way. There's not enough ways as well to counter the protected status. You can stun someone, yeah, but if all of your damage has to be a follow-up on that stun, then you're basically dealing damage into absolutely nothing.
And then he gets a portal and gets out and gets sealed up.
Exactly. It's just like I don't exactly agree 100% with what Bakery is saying, but I do feel Blizzard does need to change his ability so he can at least be countered a little bit more easily in draft. So you don't go like, oh, they have a kill combo, we pick Medivh and we win the video game.
I've had experienced that happening to me, and it's not very fun. Either way, what happens, I'm sure Medivh will keep on harassing other heroes in the Nexus and be a source of annoyance for many of the players. And one of the maps where Medivh can do a pretty good job is Battlefield of Eternity, which is the map we will talk about in this week's big special, giving you the strategies you need to increase that win rate. So let's transition on from the Medivh talk to the Battlefield of Eternity talk. Sembar. Yeah, we do have a document prepared, and we're going to use that. Do we first want to look at the different kind of comps that you can then draft on this map? Maybe
I think draft is the best to start with.
Yeah, you want to start us out, Galne?
Yeah, like usually what you want to do on this map is draft either a really good race comp or a really good defense comp. But there's also that you can put a hero on the side soak lane if you play defense comp usually. It works on race comps as well, but it's not as effective as defense comps. Usually you want to have a strong team fight as well, because if you win team fight, it doesn't matter if your opponent has good defense or race.
Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. Obviously, no one can either race or defend when they are dead. And And it's true what Galna says there. You kind of choose where you want to go in the draft, and you have to strategize around that. You can go defense, you can go race, you can also there's, as Galna mentioned, there are things inside of this that, like, you can do, let's say, a 4-1 defense race where you draft a strong 4-man to defend your immortal that synergizes with the immortal stuns, and then draft one hero that can damage the enemy immortal and ideally get out. And I've seen that work very good a lot of times, where you just have a Vala Greymane or something just hammering on the enemy immortal, while the rest just stalls the rest of the enemy team.
Yeah, where you just sit in Alarak on your friendly immortal and say, "I dare you. Come closer. I'll stun you. It'll happen." Something like that. It is very frustrating to play into.
Yeah, you can also go for 1 defense split soak, where you do the same thing with you draft a strong 4-man to defend the immortal, while you have 1 hero split soaking. Of course, this works extra well if he has some kind of global, like a Falstad or the Haka especially. And here, and if you do this, you will most probably lose the immortal race. So you should draft a strong immortal defense, as you won't be winning the first few, but hopefully you will be either ahead or at least even in XP, so you can pick some good fights after that.
Yeah. You really want when you go for that strategy, you really like when you want to defend. You don't want to be like a team fight defense where you can try to like pick people off into immortal stuns. You want to be a delay defense, so you want to be able to stand around your immortal for an extended amount of time, like an Anubarak who can tank main shots, who is trying to poke at your immortal, something like that. Heroes that can just stay around like in one area for a longer time, so that the Haka or the Falstad or the Avatar, whatever you want to go for a split soak, can do his job in the off lanes, getting that experience for your team so you can get ahead in that department.
Yeah. There are also the 4-1 poke / split soak comp. It's the same thing where you have 1 hero split soaking, and the rest of the team try to just stall the enemy, not on your, not necessarily by your immortal, but you can just poke down their immortal or poke down their defenses. And here is why Li Ming is decently strong on this map, as she has pretty great poke. Or you can go full race or full poke for that matter. And Rozmex, what are your favorite kind of strategy to go into this map with?
I don't like Tracer SR team comps on this map because EU plays it all like Dignitas and Fnatic prefers it a lot on this map. It's like aggressive team comp that wants kill and has to kill and don't waste the time on the immortal phase, because you can easily get outpoked if they defend. So you want most of the time just engage, and I like aggressive team comps or team comps varies like Tyrell, Genji, and Zeratul, which can engage on the enemy immortal. What we've seen on the mid-season role a lot.
Yeah, this is one of Tracer's and Tassadar's best map, many would say, and it seems like you would agree. But what kind of comp would you draft a Tracer Tassadar in? Would you then focus on defense, focus on picking someone off, just poke while someone split soaks, or
picking someone off, like aggressive tank that can engage like Anubarak or ETC and something to follow him, and then Tracer Tassadar.
Yeah, okay.
Just try to use the Tracer Bomb to get 1 kill in the back line, and then just snowball into the Immortal from there.
Yeah, okay.
So while you do this, would you want some, like, a 5th person on your team split soaking, or do you want everyone there?
Everyone there, I think.
Yeah, to help out the Tracer and secure that kill? Yeah. Seems decently smart. Other notable picks here, hero picks on this map, Galne?
For globals, I think I like Abathur a lot here, because people usually fighting in the mid lane, then you can soak body soak one lane and hat soak the other lane if you don't need to hat in team fight. Also a really good map for the Hakan Falstad, especially for Falstad because I think his fly reaches through the whole map because the map is so small. So you can fly almost everywhere, and there's some good bushes in the middle if you need to dig in with the hack as well. And you can also draft the best racers on this map. For example, Vala Q build, really strong in this map. I think when she completes quest on level 7 for Q build, she's the fastest racer in the game. And like Lunara, Greymane, Malfa, Rhaegar, Artanis, also really good race heroes.
Yeah, Rhaegar, if you take Lightning Bond, is really good.
Yeah, and it's not that Rhaegar will do the most DPS, but he enables people to do it, especially with the double lightning bond. And he has some bite himself. I, of course, as a Vala one trick, almost has to say that the quest is on level 4, and then you get the repeating arrow on level 7. So it's obviously I'm better than Galnagunar confirmed. Thank you very much. Apart from that, you mentioned Lunara. She doesn't really come like when you say Lunara race. Would you then pick on level 7 the talent that makes you do double damage against the NPCs, or is it? Yeah, you would do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the best talent on this map, I think, for Lunara. Like the 4-split attack is really good. It depends on your team comp actually. Like if you're going for full race, you're gonna go this talent. But if you go for like 4-1 defense or something like that, then you usually would hunt your Lunara in your 4-man with like an Ariel, for example, so you can have a really good sustain.
I personally think that if you want to go for a full race comp, then and if you pick Lunara for that, I think that you're not really like. I don't like Lunara for the race because I think if you go for I forgot the name for the talent, the double damage against NPCs.
I don't know what the talent's called either.
Nature
Sculling, thank you.
Nature Sculling, yeah.
That's what it's called. I think you give up way too much by not picking Splintered Spear, especially because you want most of the time you want to have Lunara with an Oriole or something like that. If you have Oriole, Splintered Spear is just an amazing talent for sustain, and the fact that I think even that, like even you have to remember, like the poison, it does do extra poison damage, but it still has the tick. Even if you if you're trying to race, if the poison might not actually go as fast as the opponent's actually dealing straight damage to your mortal, so you might actually still stay behind on race because of it. That's a trap that I think I've seen pro teams fall into a little bit, like around 2016. I think some of the, I think Fnatic versus Dignitas at one of those games where Fnatic lost to Immortals because they fell into the trap of thinking that the poison of Lunara was actually instant. Or I mean, they probably didn't think that, but that's what lost them the Immortal. Because they were trying to race with it, but it didn't work. And that was at the time where Nature Sculling did 200% extra damage instead of the 100 that it does now. So that's like, I think if you want to go for full race, I think you're better off just picking Vala or Greymane, something like that. And if you can't get those, then...
But these days, Oriole is really popular, and Vala with an Oriole has a tendency to be to have really good synergy. But on this map, you want Q build for Immortal Race, but at the same time, you want W build for Oriole to generate enough hope to her. Rozmex, what do I do?
I mean, Q build is fine for Auriel as well, and if you go Q build and you have Auriel, you most of the time you are going to take Strafe, which gains a lot energy, so that's the thing that you will get with V build and range, but with Strafe you can do the same, I think.
What are your favorite heroes for race, if you want to go down that route?
I think it's Vala and Greymane, and we were speaking about Lunara, and there is like a combo in her talents for the race, so when you take Kiro Spores on level 1, which are reducing your cooldown of your W and mana when you hit only mercenaries or minions, and with Nature's Calling you can get poison uptime at 100% on Immortal, and then just stall, and you will get like the Immortal death just by poison while stalling at your Immortal.
Yeah, Crippling Spores cooldown reduced by 80%, and 20 mana is restored on level 1. So yeah, that works really well for Lenara and Immortal. We didn't talk about too much about Greymane, but Greymane is all around pretty good, both in every kind of draft almost, and also on this map, of course, jumping into that wolf form and going ham on the Immortal. Any other heroes that you think are strong on this map, Rozmex?
Then Maltel is fine, but it's not like crazy. So sustained damage is like the Lunara thing. When you just put his mark on the Immortal and then defend. And Lemming is fine. I don't know. I don't think there's a lot of great races. There's just a few.
Yeah. What about heroes like Alarak or Zeratul? Do you find them strong on this map? Not for the race, but in overall?
I find Alarak strong because of the moving into the stuns. And Zeratul is fine into the aggressive compositions where you have like Genji Terrell and you can jump around the Immortal a lot and get the pickups. So in that composition, I like Zeratul on this map.
Now let's talk a bit about how you use these comps in a different way. Now, as everyone knows, Battlefield of Eternity, 2-lane map. Most of the time you send one guy in one of the lanes, usually top, and the rest in the bottom, and you just try to not die for a little while until the first Immortal phase spawns. And that always plays out the same way. Initially, the Immortal spawns north to south, but the spawn location of Angel and Demon, that varies. Then the Immortal swap to east-west, with the enemy Immortal always on your side of the map, favoring an aggressive burn. And then Immortal spawns are after the first one, always follows the same rules. The first phase is different than the previous first phase. So if the last phase it was north-south, then it's east-west now. And then the second phase is always different than the first phase. So it was always take up the opposite position of what it had in the before the halftime show, as it is called. Now, it obviously depends on the comp that you build here, what you want to do in the Immortal burning phase. Let's really quick go into the camps that you are able to pick up before the Immortal spawns. Any tips for us here?
Well, there's no camps for the first Immortal phase, so just that. Second Immortal phase, you can take the top and bottom camps after the first Immortal has depleted. I think that's fine, but for the hard camps on the right side or left side, I think you should time it with the second Immortal phase. So usually when the timer goes up, you should cap the hard camp.
Yeah, this is one of those things that most players know, but you still see players that immediately run to the hard camp after the Immortal
Even
has
in
been...
Master, people just run over the camps.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine. And it tilts me when it happened in my quick matches. So yeah, I can imagine it's pretty annoying for you guys. Yeah, because it's all about getting value from them. And if you just pick them at a random time, it's easy to defend against. But if you cap just to get it in with the teaspoon, if you cap the hard camp when the Immortal spawns, then the opposition will have to choose between defending against the hard camp or defending the Immortal or fighting for it. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's say you go a 4-1 defense or race comps, you would, during the Immortal phase, look to stall your opponent by defending around your Immortal, using the Immortal stuns to make up for the fact that you're in a potential 5 versus 4, since you will be split. The Racer is split from the team, trying to damage the enemy Immortal as fast as possible. Ideally, the Racer has some sort of escape to prevent being caught out. And this is kind of where... let's use the first Immortal spawn as an example. First, it spawns north-south. That can go either way, but but when it spawns, then it changes and go east to west. The enemy immortal will be at your safe side. Leave Vala there or whoever, and put the rest of the 4-man to go and try to defend and stall them out. Does that seem like a reasonable way to go about it?
Yeah, I mean, for the first immortal, it's all right. Especially the first phase, you can pull that off. But I'd advise against trying to do that for the second phase, especially on the first immortal, because it usually doesn't deal that much damage. So especially if you've got an advantage on trying to defend race in the first half, then you will 99% of the time you will be able to get the immortal, because the first one is really weak. And you'll be able to get some good value from it, because obviously you need to remember that the people trying to attack your immortal in the first phase do have the advantage of having their base fairly close to them, so they can go back a lot easier to tap fountain, so they can go and re-engage on you. And you do need to remember that although you have the immortal with stuns, the stun circles and the swipe, you do have to remember that you're 4v5, so you can't stay around like that spot forever. So I think going for like just 5-manning the second part is all right. But otherwise, I think for most of the immortals, outside of the first one, you can definitely do this, and it's a very annoying to play against, especially if you have a good zone control on your team.
Rozmex, how do you like to play out the immortal phase?
I don't like defending the immortals when it's on the enemy side, and if I'm managing to defend, like if you have Vala, I like a lot send Vala to damage the immortal with her Qs, then back to the team, try to get a pick. Once she has cooldowns back, do the same on the enemy immortal and stuff like this. With Greymane, I like a lot like 5-man defense out of 10, because you have great kill potential because of Curse Ballad and things like it. With if you have like Varian and Greymane on Battlefields of Eternity and you are defending, you have like a really good chance to kill someone, because you have 30-second cooldown on engage with Taunt and Bullet, so you can one-shot someone with it. Yeah, that's it. If you have like split soak hero like the Haka, I like the defending as well, but it misses the race on the enemy immortal, so I don't like that much.
Yeah, then you need to be really good at stalling if you're doing the split soak thing, as you will be behind, being that 4 heroes against the enemy's 5 most of the time. How do you like the poke idea on this map? Like getting Li Ming, maybe Lunara with Entangling Vines after 10, just to poke it down and play safe?
I feel like the poke comp is really good versus the split soak comp, because you don't need to engage in a fight, because then you can just poke the immortal. They need to come to you to delay you from getting the immortal.
Yeah.
I do agree with that. And I think the problem is if you go for a hard race comp into the split soaker, is that you do need to remember that he can show up behind you at any point. And you are with 5-man on their immortal, potentially stuck between stun circles even. So if the hacker comes in behind you and just drags one of you into one of the like your DPS, like the Greymane potentially into the stun circles, that Greymane is going to die. And you will lose that fight, and from there you will lose the immortal. So trying to poke it down seems like a very good way to play around that. Try and protect you from potential flanks, but also assuring you that you can get the immortal. You can, even if you poke, you can even send a 5th onto the offlane to counter the split soak of the Haka or Falstad.
Yeah, have your own split soaker.
Yeah, because you can. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I'm just saying the map isn't very big, so you don't actually really need a global to do some decent split soaking.
Yeah, exactly. You can, even if you don't have a global, like you said, you can just send one person into. If the Haka stop, you can send another person in bot lane and just start dealing them, like killing some minions, because you're trying to poke the enemy immortal, and the enemies is like positioned around their immortal, like defensively, and you're in the middle of the map. You should not get caught out, and the distance from lanes to the middle of the map is short enough that your fifth can reinforce fast enough if the hacker comes and burrows in behind you, and you have a good position to try and fall back towards your own immortal as well most of the time.
Yeah. Okay, so there's obviously different takes on how to win the immortal phase. Any of you guys, any favorites drafting Sylvanas?
No.
And just Hail
No.
Mary
No.
winning that first immortal phase and steamrolling with it?
Doesn't work in competitive. If you play Hero League, it could work if the enemy team is just
A bunch of
broke back.
potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too risky of a strat. It can work, and it can work in pro strats, in pro games as well. You've seen it happen, but it requires you to basically be Fnatic versus SPT without their shot caller. Otherwise, it's not gonna work, because it's happened so often now, and MVP Black, teams like that have done it so often now that people know exactly how to play around it. It's just, and basically Sylvanas is then most of the time a dead hero. So you're basically losing that game of picking Sylvanas.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Sylvanas is my bay after all, but yeah, not very prevalent at the moment. But for the most part, though, I think we can kind of, okay, let's say there's a lot of different ways to go into this map. You can, with all these different kind of comps that you can choose to go into. We can probably link all this in the YouTube description, so you can go deeper into the 4-1 defense race, 4-1 defense split soak, 4-1 poke split soak. It's full offense, full defense, etc. But let's say you just want to be on the safe side. Can you just draft a good 5-man team fight comp? And yeah,
I think that's definitely fine composition. The only thing about it is that the split soak comp kind of counters that a little bit. Because you need to fight the fights really fast to get kills, because if you don't get any kills, you're just gonna be more far behind on experience the longer the game goes.
Yeah.
I think the problem as well with going for the 5-man team fight comp, if you don't get the pick, you're usually not going to win the team fight, which is kind of the problem with going for that comp, especially on Battlefield of Eternity, because you have to put yourself in a pretty dangerous position to try and get that pick. You have to push into the enemy's immortal zone to try and get that pick. And if that doesn't work out, you tend to get a little bit stuck there. And from there, bad things start happening to you and your team.
How do you like that, Rozmex, just drafting a strong 5-man team fights?
I think I liked it in the meta on the mid-season brawl, where it was there a lot focused, and you could pick like Zeratul, Genji, and Zreal, and there was happening a lot, and you were just looking for the picks on the enemy immortal, and you had even pressure on, if an enemy had global, you had pressure on them because you have Zeratul that you don't know every time where he is, and you cannot split soak that effectively, because you have to be afraid if Genji and Zeratul doesn't come to you and they are trying to kill you. And I think it was effective a lot in the mid-season brawl, but nowadays we don't see it that often.
Yeah. Okay. So rounding this out, there's different ways to play this map depending on the level that you're playing at. You would want to identify what kind of comp your team is building, and of course what comp the enemy team is building. As Galna said, let's say they draft a strong 5-man team fight and you have a great defense poke with a split soaker, you will get ahead in XP and can probably steamroll off of that later. So analyze the draft, see where things are going, and build your com from there. Of course, when you're in coordinated, try to have an idea beforehand with what kind of comforts your players have regarding heroes, and build something around that. And if everything fails, try to build a strong 5-man team fight, and that will hopefully carry you towards good things. As we mentioned, dead heroes can't defend or split soak or attack or race or anything. So yeah. Hopefully this discussion have brought you some new ideas on how to approach Battlefield of Eternity. And as we are nearing the end, if anything we do or say in any way helps you out, let us know. We appreciate any type of feedback to the show, being it suggestions to segments, flaming me for my English pronunciation, if you have a good/bad joke for the intro, or whatever else you can think of. So please leave a comment in the Reddit thread, on YouTube, or on Twitter @SlothcastHots. But now to the saddest part of the episode, where we have to say goodbye. So, Galne Gunnar, you Swedish Superman, you have any parting words for us?
Yeah. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to Heroes Lounge. Shout out to my stream at GrandMaster 93. And I have a little bit of a joke for you, Narsha.
Oh.
What do you call a dog magician?
No, I don't know, Galne.
A labracadabrador.
Yeah, that's up my alley, definitely. Galne Gunnar,
I think you're getting competition over there, Narsha.
Yeah, it does seem so. It does seem so. Maybe we have a new Swedish overlord hosting the show soon.
We should maybe have a contest.
Yeah, the Slothcast annual joke telling contest. Yeah, we'll be sure to stream that. Again, check out twitch.tv/GalneGunnar93. It's pretty fun stuff. And for all of us that like K-pop, it's even better as Galne Gunnar plays a lot of it. So, Hida, do you have time for some shoutouts before your bedtime?
This is getting old. No.
It's not.
God damn it. This is going to happen more often now. It feels bad. Well, shout out to you guys for having me once again. And shout out to Heroes Lounge. And just shout out to you guys, of course, for bringing us the knowledge that we need to know about getting good at the video game. And yeah, I'll be around in Heroes Lounge. You'll see me around doing silly shit.
Yeah, tilting people. And,
exactly.
Yeah, it was definitely good to have you back on the show. Really glad that you could come on again short notice, as someone had to drop out in the last second yesterday. So yeah, that worked out pretty fine. Look for Hida around in the Heroes Lounge Discord. He is, or in the Heroes Lounge stream, Twitch chat. He is most of the time there talking about something that he cares deeply about.
Video games.
Rozmex, it was a pleasure having you on the show. I hope you enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I enjoyed. I want to thank you for the chance, and shout out to you guys, shout out to the Heroes Lunch, and shout out to the all people that helped me last week with some things in the Heroes Lunch. So yeah, thanks.
Yeah, glad to be of service. It's great that things work out. I wish you very good luck in finding your new home. If anyone out there have ambitions of doing well in the Open Division and needs a Czech player, then just shout out to Rozmex. You were from Czech, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I almost was afraid that I said something wrong there. Yeah.
Dodge that bullet, phew.
Now, Rozmex, we didn't mention it earlier, but you also stream.
Yeah, I just streamed this week on a channel called Opposite of Brain, because it's a meme in our sniping crew, and you can check the stream out. I'm gonna be streaming today most likely. In the night, some sniping queue, so
yeah, cool. That's also very valuable to check out. Twitch.tv/opposite of brain. Other places people can find you on the internet. Do you have Twitter or something like that?
Yeah, I have Twitter, Rozmex Hots.
Rozmex Hots. So look him up there, and thanks a lot for coming on the show, and I hope you will do it again. Speaking of streaming, we of course have to mention that the Heroes Lounge streams are always going on, or as long as it's games to be shown at least. Heroes twitch.tv/heroes_lounge. You can find a lot of charming casters there casting all the interesting action that's going on in the Heroes Lounge. But for myself, I can be found on Twitter at @the_Narsha and in a Discord channel near you. Give me a poke if you got anything on your mind. And until next time, as always, good luck and have feeds.